Hello and welcome back to episode 27 of the Shark Source podcast. I am joined again, as always, by Shaedon, and we have a great show for you guys today. So coming up, we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Sabres and their annual dysfunction. It seems like every single year that this team is underperforming, that there's rumors of Jack Eichel getting traded. But this year, with the addition of Taylor Hall, people thought that they might actually be good. But no, they are doing terrible. I believe they're either last in the league or very close to last in the league. Yep, they're last in the league. So we're going to be talking about the Sabres. We also got the Flames made a coaching change, and me and Shaedon have opposite opinions on this, so this should be a good one. Daryl Sutter, the new coach of the Calgary Flames. Then we're also going to be talking about two teams who are playing differently to their expectations. We've got Minnesota, who is so far by far exceeded their expectations, largely due to Kaapo Kähkönen and Kirill Kaprizov, so we'll be getting into that. And then Dallas, the defending Western Conference champions, currently only 1 point ahead of the Detroit Red Wings. Now, to be fair, Dallas has much fewer games played than these other teams. If you take points percentage, they're actually 6th in the division, or is it 5th? 5th in the division. So they're not doing as bad as we thought, but we're going to be talking about them and seeing, why aren't they playing, like the team that took Tampa to 6 games in the Stanley Cup final. We'll talk about that too. We'll also get into the new TV deal for the NHL, their new deal with ESPN and ABC. We're going to cover that as well. So I hope you guys will enjoy the show, but let's get right into it. And we're leading off with the Buffalo Sabres. And Shaedon, what can you even say at this point? They've fired multiple coaches. They've fired multiple GMs. They've brought in players. What is going wrong with Buffalo?
It's just the same old, same old. They always get off to a hot start, then they just fall back. And honestly, I think I just ran out of things to say about the franchise. It's not like that. It's not like they don't have any good players. Like, they have Taylor Hall, they got Jack Eichel, they got Olsen, they got Sam Reinhart. Their D-core is decent. They got Rasmus Dahlin, and before he got injured, Elias Olmark was one of the better goalies in the league. I don't know if it's a locker room issue, if there's something inside the organization that's wrong, but I don't know. It's like Buffalo's a cursed franchise where every single move they make in the offseason just blows up in their face. And I think they lost 8 in a row by now, 7 in a row. And they have 9 regulation wins in their past 45 games going back to last season, which is unacceptable. And I think this is mainly on the Fagulas. I think they care about the Buffalo Bills more than the Sabres. And that's all right. They're not acting like real owners. Like, they did hire Kevin Adams, but besides that, they really haven't made any sweeping changes to the organization, and that's what they need. I kind of want them to pull a Toronto Maple Leafs back in 2015, where they fire everyone and just start new, because there's something wrong in that organization, and it's just a matter of time before Eichel requests a trade. This is his 6th season in the NHL. He was drafted 6 years ago, and the fact that they haven't even made the playoffs yet, is disappointing. Hell, they didn't even make the play-ins last season. 24 teams made it. So the fact that they were one of the only 7 teams that didn't make it is kind of troubling. And yeah, they're in contention for another lottery pick, and the lottery just changed its rules too. So it's even a bigger chance that Buffalo doesn't even win the lottery, which would suck for them. So that's all I can really say. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but everything. I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know what's wrong with that team.
You said it best. It's a disgrace. It is a disgrace to the great fans in Buffalo, to the players. How this organization is being ran. And what can you do? No one knew the Jeff Skinner contract would be one of the worst contracts in the entire league. He has 2 points in 22 games. But, you can't only blame him. The Stars are to blame too. Taylor Hall and Jack Eichel have a combined, 46 games played, and they have 4 goals. That's not okay. And the Sabres have some exciting prospects coming up. The workhorse from Whitehorse, Dylan Cousins, Jack Quinn. They have a good. I can't even say they have a good future. They have, in theory, a good future, but with the Sabres, it's just not going to work out. And I don't think it's fair to fire Kevin Adams just yet. I mean, he's just started, but definitely Ralph Kruger, even though the Eichel, for whatever reason, seemed to really like him a little bit ago, and Taylor Hall, he was part of the reason that Hall went to the Sabres. He's got to go. He clearly can't coach. This team should not be this bad. There's no excuse, especially with Linus Ullmark actually playing well, because goaltending was a big problem they had, and that was one of the criticisms I had of the Kevin Adams, the GM, is that he didn't bring in a new goalie, but Ullmark is actually playing pretty well. A .919 save percentage in 12 games, that's very good. So it's not goaltending, it's really offense. And the and defense too. The Sabres have a goal differential of -27, which is the worst in their division, and I believe worst in the league. Not worst in the league, actually. Detroit and Ottawa are worse than them, but it's worse in their division. They have the most goals allowed in their division, and they're tied for the fewest goals scored in their division. So you really can't get much worse than the Sabres right now. And I still don't think they should trade Eichel. He's under contract for a long time, and I don't think they have any reason to trade him. They probably, knowing their GM, wouldn't even get fair value for him. But maybe they have to look into trading Taylor Hall. I heard that for some reason he was considering signing an extension with them. But, if you can't sign him, you got to trade him. This season's done. They're already basically halfway through. There's no chance they make the playoffs. So another tough season for Buffalo. And, yeah, I completely agree with you. This seems to be an ownership problem because they've gone through GMs. They've gone through coaches. Nothing seems to work. I think that the Pagulas have to go.
And, I mean, you said it best. Like, they should try to trade Hall. I think they should trade Eric Stahl as a UFA. I'm pretty sure there's rumors about a couple teams on Eric Stahl. Just sell the UFAs. In fact, prospects and picks, but yeah, they really need a huge overhaul to their organization. Like, I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that they don't even have a scout in Russia, Sweden, and the WHL.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe that when I saw that. The WHL, they don't have a scout in the WHL. Are you kidding me?
It's embarrassing.
And especially this year when the OHL, I don't even think they're playing right now. I think the QMJHL and the WHL are the only 2 Canadian junior leagues that are playing. And they don't have a scout in the WHL. Arguably the second best Canadian junior league. And in some years, they're better than the OHL. And no scout? I mean, it's shocking. And of course, and the Europe part too. So this is just embarrassing. And they shouldn't even be surprised that they're bad. So I don't know. I think the problem is you can't fire an owner. The owner would have to sell the team. So very tough to be a Sabres fan right now. All right, well, I think we'll move on from that to a slightly more, optimistic situation than Buffalo, though that's not really saying much. We're going to look at the Calgary Flames. Now, compared to Buffalo, they're in a good position, but they are definitely underperforming. And I don't remember if you picked them to miss the playoffs, but I did pick Calgary to miss the playoffs. And right now, they are 4 points behind Montreal, and they've played 1 extra game with 27 points. They've lost a lot of games, though, that they should have won. They have a -8 goal differential. And they fired Jeff Ward in early March and replaced him with Daryl Sutter. Now, Daryl Sutter has been out of a job since he lost his job with the Kings in 2017. Now, he's done some other stuff around the league, but he hasn't been a head coach. And I was surprised by that because, even though he didn't have a great finish with the Kings, he did bring them 2 cups. And knowing the NHL, I mean, that's very attractive to owners. Owners love basically hiring the same pool of like 50 guys. And when you win 2 cups, it would make sense you get a job sooner. So he's hired with the Flames. Shaedon, so what's your initial reaction to the Flames bringing in Daryl Sutter?
Well, I did have them making the playoffs at first. I think I had them second place in the Canadian division, which right now looks way off. But obviously, Sutter had history in Calgary. He was the coach there, I think, from like 2000 to 2005 or something like that. And the reason why I don't like the hiring is because I do think Sutter's a good coach, but honestly, for me, this kind of reminds me of the Ken Hitchcock situation when he was with the Oilers. Both these coaches are rely on heavy, strict defensive games where you're gonna win like 2-1 or 2-0, and I just honestly don't think he fits today's style of game. But he kind of plays a slower style of game. I mean, the good thing about Sutter is that his team has possession a lot, which is huge, of course, in the NHL. His teams are always like top 5 possession stats. He gets the best out of players, but um, he last won the cup in 2014, and after he won the cup, the Kings have been up and down. I mean, the year after they won the cup, they missed the playoffs, and they went back to the playoffs and they lost in 5 to San Jose. And the next year after that, they missed the playoffs. So it's like after they won the cup, it's been up and downhill. It's been up and downhill. And the game just evolved. Maybe he can reconnect. He can have some success. Maybe he can change up his system a bit. But for right now, I just don't think it's a good hire. Who knows? I've been wrong in the past before. Hoping I'm not wrong this time because I don't want to see Patrick succeed. But I would have rather them go for someone like Claude Julien, who's still out there. Even Gerard Gallant, he's probably in Seattle, but he was out there. I mean, I guess it's nice that I guess they're looking for someone that was in the area, and someone that they were familiar with before. But I don't know. It just kind of gives me Ken Hitchcock feels. I don't think it will work out. But who knows? Maybe a coaching change can reignite the team, and we'll see what it shows.
Yeah, again, I think I agree with you that I think there may have been like a better option. Maybe again, I think anytime Gerard Gallant is available, he's pretty much always the best option for a hire. But I think Daryl Sutter could find some success with the Flames. I just look at the style of team the Kings had, and I remember watching the Kings playing against the Sharks in 2014. We don't really need to talk about that series too much, but what happened basically was they completely smothered them. The offense was completely shut down. They played very physical, very difficult to play against hockey. And while a lot of people in this league love to talk about the speed and they love the Avalanche and they love teams like the Penguins and before Jim Rutherford started bringing in more physical guys, but they like the speed, very fast teams. But if you look at the teams who have won the cup recently, look at St. Louis, look at even Tampa. St. Louis was a very physical team. They won the cup. Tampa gets swept out of the first round. They become, worse. They do worse in the regular season, but they bring in more physical players like Barclay Goodrow and Pat Maroon, and then they win the cup. So I definitely think there's still a place for a physical team in the NHL, and I think that Daryl Sutter could bring that to the Flames. But I don't think it's really going to help him too much. I mean, the problem with firing your coach 27 games into a season in this season is that 27 games is nearly half the season. So their time to win is basically almost already run out. They could still make the playoffs because it's that close, but I don't think they're going to be winning that division, and I don't think it's enough time for Daryl Sutter to really fully implement his system. So maybe
right now they're. Sorry, go on.
So maybe it will work out next season, but I don't think it's going to fully work this season.
I agree. They're 4 points away from Montreal. Montreal's 1 game in hand. Even some teams behind them are catching up. Vancouver has He's 1 point behind them, albeit he played 3 more games. But I just think Calgary should have fired Jeff Ward a couple weeks ago. Like hell, even like after the playing series to Dallas, but sorry, no, the first round series to Dallas. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, there's a couple players on that team that can fit the Sutter system though. Like Matt Kachuk is like a Sutter type
Yeah,
player. He's
exactly. Yeah.
physical. That's the type of guy that's gonna thrive under Sutter. But I don't think a guy like Gaudreau, and I think he's screwed. Like Gaudreau's not known for defense. He doesn't go to the dirty areas. I don't know. I have a feeling that Gaudreau's not gonna last long here just because of Sutter.
Yeah, well, the thing about that though is, has Gaudreau really thrived? I mean, I guess this year he's playing pretty well. He's got 11 goals, 23 points in 27 games. It's almost a point per game. But I remember just a few seasons ago, people were talking about him as the top American player in the league, and
Right.
he's definitely you couldn't call him a superstar in this league. You could say he's a star. You could say he's the best player on the Flames, but he's nowhere near Matthews, nowhere near Kane, where people were comparing him to back then. So, maybe counterintuitively this will help him. But anyway, we'll see what happens in that. I think we can move on from the Flames. We'll see how they do. Still trying to struggle to make a playoffs, but I don't think that they go far in the playoffs, even if they do make it. But now we'll talk about a team that has been surprisingly successful, the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota is currently third in the West Division. Now, that division is so tight that they're actually only 3 points ahead of the sixth place team, Arizona. So they could pretty quickly drop out. But definitely, I don't think many people expect them to be winning games, the way they're doing. They're beating teams like Vegas. I mean, Minnesota has definitely been surprisingly good, especially because they got rid of some good players, and people thought they were finally embracing the rebuild. So, Shaedon, what do you think is the reason for the Wild's, surprising success?
Hakkinen
Yep.
and Kaprizov, like the two KKs on that team. Hakkinen is like what 11-4 against a 2.19 goals against average, a .92 save percentage. In his last 5 games has been incredible. He shut out the Vegas Golden Knights. He he beat the Colorado Avalanche. Like he saved like 32 shots or something like that. He's just been on the tear, and this is someone that was supposed to be third string goalie, but Alex Stalock got injured, so he was out. So Kapanen got pushed up to the backup role. So it was Talbot was the starter, and Talbot got placed on COVID protocol. So Kapanen got the starter's job, and he's ran with it ever since. And for Minnesota, it's good to see them finally have success. They've always been stuck in mediocrity where they're either the third or fourth best team in the Central. Then when they make the playoffs, either first or second round exit. Like it's actually nice to see them have some young superstars that can push them over the edge. And there's other guys that have been contributing too. Matthew Crudell is over a point per game. Joel Eric's neck has finally broken out to be a great two-way centerman. Jordan Greenway has like 20 points in 24 games. Marcus Foligno, a bottom six player, is scoring for them. Fiala has been scoring. So for Minnesota, I think I had them fifth, or I think I had them fifth in the division. Yeah, they've been surprising me, but it's all because of Kaprizov and Kapanen.
I want to read you some statistics that are pretty shocking. This is from NHL and NBC Sports on Instagram. In Capo Kakanen's last 8 games, he's 8-0, a 1.62 goals allowed average, a 9.40 save percentage, and a shutout. So, it can't be understated, or rather, it can't be overstated how well Capo Kakinen is playing. And the one thing I will say, though, is are they cup contenders? Because again, people talk about Minnesota mediocrity. They're always, a playoff team or a bubble team, but they never do anything. And people have long made the argument that they need to rebuild so that they can get stars, so that they can break out of mediocrity and become a cup contender. In other words, they need to be bad first before they can become good. And people are thinking that this year would be the year that they get bad and start getting young players, with Marco Rossi and stuff like that, to break out eventually. But they're not going to be getting a high draft pick this year. I'll tell you that. So as good as their success is, they have to hope that they can, make a run at the cup, because they're not going to be getting, the high draft picks that they would need to do a full rebuild. It's clear that they're not even rebuilding right now. They're contending. So we'll see what happens. They are only 2 points out of first place in the division. So, in this short season, who knows what can happen. Okay, so now we will be moving on to sort of the opposite case. Now we're going to look at Dallas. Now, it's important to know that when you just look at the standings and you see points and you see Dallas only have one more point than Detroit, that's a little misleading, because Dallas had some COVID issues, so they could not start the season on time, and I believe they missed another few games due to COVID. So they've played only 22 games, so that's why it sort of makes sense they only have 21 points. But still, from the team that made it to the Cup final last year, one would hope that they would do better than be fifth in their division. And it's a little ironic, because Dallas was actually moved to the Central and Minnesota was moved to the West in order to make the divisions more balanced. Initially, Dallas was going to be in the West, and yet Minnesota is definitely playing better than Dallas. So, Shaedon, why do you think the Stars are sort of underperforming? Do you think they can turn it around in the playoffs and get back to the Cup, or were they at their peak last year?
For starters, they missed Sagan and Bishop for this entire season, so arguably their top player on offense and their best goalie by far. That's gonna hurt a team. And no, I'm gonna be honest. I feel like Dallas kind of they overachieved in the playoffs. I mean their depth stepped up for sure. Like Joel Ron was the only reason why they beat Colorado in that seventh game. Um, Against the Flames, when they had a 3-0 lead, their depth came up like Dennis Gurianov, who scored 4 goals. But I always had a feeling that they were an overrated team from the get go. I think I had them third, fourth in the division. I had them making the playoffs, but not, but barely. And as soon as I heard Sagan and Bishop were going to be out long term, I was like, okay, that's going to do a lot of damage to the team, because, not a lot of their top guys are producing. I mean, Joe Pavelski leads their team in points. He's over a point per game. John Klingberg's doing his thing. Ruben Hayes is up there. But besides that, Jamie Benn has 12 points in 18 games. He needs to start get going too soon. Knobin is like 5-1. He has a 2.65 goals to average. His save percentage is below .910. Jake Ottinger has played well. He's played 8 games. He's 3-1-4, but I wouldn't want to lean on the rookie goaltender all that too much. So, that certainly hurts Dallas. But the thing is, like you said, they played the least amount of games. They played 22 games. They're 12 points away from Chicago. Yeah, Dallas has 6 games in hand on Chicago. So, technically speaking, Dallas win those 6 games. They're tied with Chicago. They would have the exact same record. So I think this is kind of a wait and see thing. Let's wait a good 2 or 3 weeks when the trade deadline comes. We'll see where they're at. But if things don't improve, it could be a long second half of the season for the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, I think one stat I do want to point out for the Stars is who's leading the team in points and goals. Joe Pavelski. So just to all the Sharks, a lot of people in the media said the Sharks did the right thing letting him go, and Dallas paid him too much, and he's old and he's washed up. Joe Pavelski, 24 points in 22 games at 36. This guy is, he's a legend. He has twice the amount of points as Jamie Benn in 4 more games. So right now, Joe Pavelski is really carrying the team. But yeah, I definitely think that Dallas, goaltending I think is not too bad, because even without Bishop, who's still injured, and not to get sidetracked, but that is, a great. He was a really great goaltender at one point in time, but he's just been injured so often. But yeah, I think Dallas. The problem is, in such a short season, it's difficult to make a full recovery, even if you have only 22 games played. While most of the teams in your division have at least like 4 more. It's just difficult to recover in time, and they have to look to players. You know, they have to look to their big players to step up. And Jamie Benn, 12 points in 18 games is just not good enough. Um, they need, I think, Radulov. I mean, he has only 8 games played, so I can't remember. Does he have like injury problems or what's? I can't remember
I think
what.
so.
Yeah, so I guess you can blame some of that on injury problems and stuff, but they need to. They need the rest of the team to step up, and I do agree that I think they overachieved these playoffs. I mean, you look at the Avalanche, they had injury problems versus them. Vegas, I'm not quite sure how they beat Vegas so easily, but I don't think they make it back to the Cup final for sure. Okay, so that's Dallas. So I believe we only have one more topic to cover today, and that's the NHL's new TV deal with ESPN. So I'm going to pull it up real quick just because I want to make sure that I get all of the stats right. But it's a 7-year deal with ESPN and ABC, who owns ESPN. Or Disney owns both of them, so it's basically the same thing. And so the deal is this: 4 out of the next 7 Stanley Cup Finals are going to be on ABC, and then ABC and ESPN will show 25 games and half of the playoffs each season. And now, in addition to that, 75 regular season games will stream exclusively on ESPN and Hulu. So I'm not really sure what they mean by stream exclusively on that and how that's different from the ESPN or ABC will show 25 games and half playoffs. So is it 25 or 75? It's a little bit confusing. And then ESPN Plus is going to absorb NHL TV, and which is good because I believe it's cheaper than NHL TV. And then Hulu will also be showing games. So the deal is not fully out, and it's worth about $400 million per year, which is huge, and especially because this is only a partial deal. So if you understand the fact that it's 4 out of the next 7 Stanley Cups, that means the other 3 will go to another network, presumably NBC. So this is a big deal for the NHL. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast or not, but I'm definitely not a fan of ESPN. I don't like it, but it is a fact that ESPN is in a lot more homes than NHL on NBC was. ESPN, I believe, is in the article. It says NBCSN was available in about 75 million homes, which is I can't see in the article if it says whether ESPN is in what number it is, but it's definitely more than that. So more exposure to the league is very good. So Shaedon, you're in Canada, so this doesn't really affect you because you won't be able to watch it anyway. But what do you think about this deal?
Well, I think the ABC games will be available here because we do have ABC here. So,
Oh, really?
I guess we can look forward to that. ABC and it's kind of similar to NBC where I don't get the NBCSN games, but if it's on the main network, I'll get it here.
Really? I didn't know that. So you could watch games like with Doc Emmerich like on NBC.
Yeah.
So you've done that before?
Sure.
Really?
Like the Sunday games are national here, so
I had always thought that Rogers had exclusive rights to it. So I didn't even know you could get NBC in Canada. That's interesting.
yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, we don't have ESPN here, so I don't see that. But for starters, I think it's great for the league. ESPN before the last couple of days have barely posted the hockey, and even though ESPN is way more political nowadays, which I don't agree with, and they have, let's just say, not the smartest analysts covering the sports.
Yeah.
But I think it's good for, especially Americans that haven't seen the game yet. and I think it's about 25 national games a year, so not a lot, but it did get some exposure out there. And I'm pretty sure they're doing half the playoffs too, which is good. And yeah, I think it's great for the growth of hockey. I mean, ESPN, NHL and ESPN from what 95 to 04. I heard the ratings were really good at that time. Then when the lockout happened, they stopped showing hockey for whatever reason. So yeah, I think it's fine. I'm finally happy that we get to see, more people get to see the NHL and all the young superstars like the Mathewson and the Davids and the Eichels play, and that could really push the sport up further. I think it can possibly overtake baseball if more Americans can get into hockey, and I'm just very excited to see how this can play out, and I really do hope that NBC gets the second half of that deal because I feel like a lot of the NBC crew members.
Yeah, well, I will say I don't think there's really any chance it overtakes baseball. Even though baseball is shrinking in the U.S. and hockey is growing, the ratings are like pretty much. I mean, not even comparable. Baseball gets way better ratings, but I will say this is big. And again, I really hate ESPN. For the reason you mentioned, they're very political, but then also because they've basically become the basketball network. I mean, if you look at their Instagram, I'm going to count it actually right out on air. Let's just take their last 12 posts. So out of their last 12 posts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 of them are basketball related. None of them are hockey related. Of the other ones that I counted, one was baseball, one was football, and one was table tennis. So they really don't post anything on hockey on there. They never covered on their network. But so I don't like them for that reason. But I think if they have the games on ESPN, they will cover it, and that is big. Social media. I'll take that as an example. The ESPN account on Instagram has 18.7 million followers. The NHL account on Instagram has 4.5 million followers. So it will, give the league more mainstream appeal, which is very good. And I do think that'll be very good for the league to grow. But what I like most about this deal is that there are two parts of it, right? I think it's not good to have a league only have one network. And the NHL was the only league out of the 5 major team professional sports leagues in North America that was only signed to one TV network, the NBC network. Because every other league has games on multiple networks, and it's good that the NHL will do that. I really do hope NBC wins the other half of the TV deal because I grew up watching NHL and NBC. I love the presentation, I love the music, the graphics, the on-air talent, everything about it. So I do hope that we will still get to see NHL and NBC, but definitely this is big for the league, and hopefully this will allow it to grow, and hopefully it means more total games on national TV. I think that would be great. If we could have maybe a game earlier on ESPN than later on USA or any other NBC network, I think that would be very good. Okay, so unless there's anything else you want to talk about, is that about it?
Looks like it.
Yeah, so
Unless something breaks through in the next 2 seconds, which
yeah, there was a minor trade today. We're not going to cover it. So
yeah.
Leafs and Jackets, you can look it up yourself. It's no big deal. But anyway, so that will do it. We hope you guys enjoyed listening to this episode of the Shark Source podcast. Make sure you check out our previous episodes and check out the description for the Instagram, which I've said for a long time is going to be active, but probably won't be active this season. But you can also check out Shaedon in the description. Maybe I'll run it next year. Who knows? Maybe when the Sharks are better. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.